Hello everyone and welcome to Beginner's Code. Today we are going to be making a responsive navbar using HTML and CSS. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is just create a folder or a directory. And I already have one that's attached to my desktop that I've called Navbar. So inside of this, I'm just going to create two files. The first will be an index.html and then the second will be a main.css. And now we will just use a HTML5 boilerplate, and inside of this we can use the link attribute and link to the main.css file, and this will just allow our HTML tags to be styled using the main.css. Now we can change the title, so I'll just put responsive navbar, and then inside the body we want to create a div that will hold the list items. So we'll just use a div and then name it navbar, or give it a class of navbar, and then using emit, if I tab, it will autocomplete. So now we want a ordered list. It doesn't matter if you use an unordered list because we will be taking away the styling. So an ordered list, and then we want to have a list item, and then inside of the list item we want an A tag, so ahref, and now we have a list item that we can click on. So if we pass in a value of a hashtag, then we actually are giving this link a value of hashtag that we can click on, but it just won't go anywhere. And now we just want to make a couple of these, so 5 in total. Pass in the value of home for the first one, and then work for the second, projects, about us, and then a contact page. So now if I save this and head over to my Finder and open the index.html in Google Chrome, you'll see up here we have 5 different list items, all in the same order and not very appealing to the eye. So the next thing that I want to do is actually import a style or a font. So I've come over to fonts.google.com, and all we need to do is just find a font, and I've chosen Roboto, and I've clicked on the Light 300, so select this style, and then if I just click on the import and then copy this import, and I paste it into my main.css. Now to make sure it's working, we can copy this, and then if I just use it on the body tag, so this will affect all the text in the body regardless, and then if I just give it the font family of Roboto and sans serif. Now if I head back over to my index.html file and run it, you'll see a very slight change to the way the letters are being shown. And it's the change of the font which makes it a lot nicer. So we could have chosen 400 or 700 or even 900 if we wanted. So this is a light version of the Roboto, which is quite nice. So still inside the body, what we want to do next is just add a background colour. And the background colour will take the value of 885053. And then if I run this, it gives the whole background a nice sort of colour to it. Don't know why there's that white line, but there you go. So now if we move on to the navbar. So this is the div that we are going to be styling, but it is the class of navbar. So we are just going to be grabbing the div by the class of navbar. So we will pass in a margin top, which is, say, 300 pixels maybe, if I refresh this. So yeah, it's down here. It gives us quite a bit of headroom, which is quite nice because it will go across the center of the page. Obviously, if you're using this for a website and you want the navbar to be at the top, then don't give the margin top quite a big number. Next, we want to change the display, and we will display it as flex. And then we'll pass in justify content as center and then align items as center. And now if I run this, if I save this and then run it, you'll see it's now directly in the center, which is very nice. Very easy to just center things along, which is perfect. Next, we want to target the ordered list and every list item in it. So OL and then LI, and this selects the list items that are inside an ordered list. Here we want to use the list style, and we want to change the property to none. So now if I run this, you'll see all the numbers have disappeared, and it makes it feel like, well, it makes it look more like an interactive navbar. Next, we can then pass in the display inline, and you'll see now we have it going across. So we have 5 different links all in line, and we are able to click on each one. After, we want to just give a margin, so 0 pixels and then 30 pixels, and this will affect the top and the bottom. Nope, the right and the left, sorry. So this is given 30 pixels on each side, which allows us to have this gap between. Okay, so now we have the list items. What we actually want to do is affect the link. So the A tag that we've placed in is what we are clicking, and this is what we want to try and style next. So OLLIA, and this will only select any A tags that are inside of a list item that is inside of an ordered list. So next we can just pass in color, and then 140A00. And then if we run this, we have black text, which is very nice. And if you click on it, it stays black. Next, we want to give a text decoration of none, and then a transition of 0.4 seconds. And that will just give a slight delay on any hover effects or anything like that we want to add. And then if we pass in a letter spacing of 0.09m, and then give a padding to the bottom of just 3 pixels, we now have the spaces, or the words, the letters spaced a lot nicer with no underline underneath. And I mean, you can't see it at the moment, but there is a 4-second transition. Or 0.4 second transition, sorry. And then we want to actually change the A tag whenever something is hovered over. So if I use A and then use the pseudo element of hover, so :hover, we can then transform the text to be uppercase, and we can even change the color to be D6, D6, D6. And if I save that and then head back to here, what we'll see now is we have a uppercase word and it's changed to white when we hover over it. And each one, it works exactly the same because we have selected all the A tags, which is perfect. So next we want to just give a little bit more spacing. So whenever it's hovered over, it will change from 0.09, which it is, to 1. And it's not a massive difference, but it does give a little bit more because they are capitals, so it is a lot closer. And then we want to give a border to the bottom, and this will just take 1 pixel solid, and then we will give it the same color, so D6, D6, D6. And then when we hover over, we now have a line that actually gives a little bit more professional style to the navbar. It makes it a lot easier to see which one is active or which one you're hovering over. So finally, now that we have a working navbar that is perfect, The only thing that we need to worry about is how it will look in mobile form. And if I inspect this and then move this out slightly, so you'll see up here, just about here when I'm dragging, we are roughly on about 300 pixels wide. So if I try and get this up to, say, 399, perfect, so it's just under 400. Now this is a phone screen width, roughly. Some are a lot wider, some are a lot narrower. But what we want to do is actually have this so that it doesn't look quite as jumbled up. We want it to be as nice and professional as possible. So when you're on a website on a mobile phone, one of the best ways to do it is having a hamburger that you can click on, and then then this pops out and it allows you to click on it. However, because we don't need that right now, what we're going to focus on is just making it so that when it's in a responsive, or when it's in a mobile format, it is just a straight list, whereas when it's in a desktop format, it is like this. So if I move it back to 399, that will do. And now if I come back to my main.css, to do this, what we want to do is use a media query. So we can pass in media, only, screen, and this will basically tell the main.css that when our screen, or when our screen has a max width of 400 pixels, then we want this code to happen. And we don't have to affect all the code because the majority of the code is already there, it's already styled. So what we want to affect mainly is the list items. So here we have it displayed inline, but what we want to do is when it reaches 400 pixels or lower, we want the list items to be displayed in a flex, which we can then put into a column. So OLLI, and then inside of this we can do display flex, justify content to the center, align items to the center, and then flex direction, and this will be column, and now margin of 20 pixels and then 0. So what we're doing is here we gave a margin to the top and the bottom of 0 and then the left and the right of 30. What we're actually doing is when we get to 400 pixels, we're changing that to 20 pixels to the top and the bottom and 0 to the right and left. So now if I save this and run, we have our navbar going down. I should probably take a little bit of room off the top. So the navbar had a margin top of 300 pixels. So dot navbar margin top of say 150. And now if I run this, we have it moved back up a little bit further, but all the transitions still work perfectly. And this is how we are able to get a responsive navbar. So if I move this out, so to a desktop, and then to the phone. So the next thing that we could focus on is the in between the phone and the desktop, which is usually picked up by iPads or devices like that. Now, there is a lot of different things that we can do, including making the style different, making it smaller, making the padding between each one less. But for now, I think this is perfect. We have focused mainly on the phone and the desktop. So in a future lesson or a future video, I will go over some responsive work for iPads. That's all for today's video. Hopefully this has helped your understanding on how we can use HTML and CSS to make our website more interactive and user-friendly across all devices. If you liked what we've been through and you want to learn more, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date. In the next video, we will be looking more into object-oriented programming with Python. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.